Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Will this be the final nail that help lock the door when it comes to dealing with the high youth unemployment in the country and getting it right in terms of support for entrepreneurs? Well, I'm talking about the YouStart program announced in the 2022 budget by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. What is the state of unemployment in the country? And how is this program structured to help deal with this challenge? Well, rewinding on terms of rewarding those who are really due for this, or maybe those who don't have what it takes. How would this be structured to benefit the real entrepreneurs out there? Topic: Ghana's unemployment situation and the YouStart program. Well, my guest is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, Kosi Yankee Aye. As we look at this and other issues wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition as we talk about unemployment and the YouStart program in the country. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. We're talking about unemployment and government's program that is aimed at addressing this problem and supporting those budding entrepreneurs out there. I'm engaging Madam Kosi Yankee. She's the Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly the National Board for Small Scale Industry. It's no more, it's now an agency, right? Thank you so much for joining us on PM Express. It's been a while.
It has been.
And how are things?
Things are going very well, I must say. I think I spoke to you a few months ago, a couple of months ago, and things are going according to plan. There's a lot of movement within the agency. There's a lot of work ahead of us. And I think we're very excited about the future. So we need to plan to be prepared for what's coming up next.
Tell us more from MBS side to Enterprise Agency. It appears your scope has been broadened and you're doing a lot more things now than we thought.
Yes. I think so. I think we used to be the National Board for Small Scale Industries. We're limited in our scope based on what we could do, even in terms of the target clientele we could work with. We usually would work with micro and small, and now our scope has been expanded to look at the medium enterprises. And it's all off the back of what we seek to do even within the budget in terms of the YouStart. Because the goal or the drive is to be able to grow businesses from micro to small, small to medium, medium to large enterprises. And so you need that agency that you've actually resourced and supported to kind of back these MSMEs that we're going to be working with so they can grow, because that's the economic transformation.
We've seen the economy pick up strongly, and has that impacted also on the requests that are coming at your end, the engagement? Because if these businesses are picking up, obviously some might need a little bit of kick, push, could be funding, could be just technical support, just tweaking some areas as well.
Yes, there's a lot of support. I think that one of the things that we've done at the Ghana Enterprises Agency is actually being able to tell people what we've been doing and how we're doing things. And so you'd realize that at every stage in every business's life, there's a push or a drive to come to the agency to seek support and to get the support that they need to grow their business. So there is a lot. You see that the people are picking up. People think they need to revive their businesses again. And so they're coming to you seeking a different type of funding to build their businesses. They're coming to you to seek a different type of technical assistance and seeking other services that, usually or typically during the COVID era, they were not seeking, but things are changing and things are picking up, and you can tell from the vibrancy and the conversations that we are having with various partners and the stakeholders that we support.
Before the Finance Minister spoke about this YouStart program as government's main drive to deal with unemployment and supporting entrepreneurs, there was something else that you're dealing with. Is it the Kabas program? I stand to be corrected. That's in the correct pronunciation. How is that program doing as we speak right now?
So that's so before the YouStart came up, things have been going on, I mean, government has really, through the president's vision of supporting the economy and using private sector as the focus, there's been a lot of support. So if you remember in 2020 when COVID hit, the president was really emphatic on how we could actually stabilize MSMEs and entrepreneurs and their businesses. So one of the first things that he actually mentioned and announced was the package, which was the Kabas, to support these MSMEs MSMEs and entrepreneurs so they could stabilize and try to protect some jobs and some businesses as well. In the past, the first announcement was for 600 million Ghana cedis. All the funds there have been utilized to support the businesses. Over 500 million plus were really injected in providing access to finance to businesses to build them. And some of the funds were also used to provide technical assistance across the nation. So if you look at the data of the numbers of what we've been able to achieve with that, is that we have over 300,000 people who were able to access these funds from micro to small to medium in every region and every district.
They were scattered across the country, not just a greater Accra support or a Kumasi or a greater Kumasi support.
No, not at all. I mean, what we've been able to do, I think we must, the agency must take credit and the government must take a lot of credit for, because for the first time, our intervention was able to roll out across the nation in every district and was very, very accessible to people, you know, in a way that we've never been able to do it. So we have people coming from Namibia and Zambia to even learn how we were able to do what we were able to do. Now, the beauty of that is that it also allowed us through that intervention to see what was happening on the ground in terms of the numbers we have. But that was not the only support we provided under CAP during the coronavirus COVID, really when it was at its peak. But we also have the MasterCard and Kosovo program, MasterCard Foundation.
So that's a private sector-led program, right?
That is a foundation with government support backing. So together, working on that to actually roll out that intervention, which is also still ongoing to build and support businesses across the nation.
So getting the numbers right, or just the round figures, not the specifics, we've done over over 500 million Ghana cedi disbursement, over 300,000 businesses have benefited from the support. There was a first part and a second part as well, right? What about that one? Or put everything together was around 600 million Ghana cedis? No.
What we have and utilize is the 600 million Ghana cedis.
There were concerns about making sure that these funds get to the right people, the right agencies. Are you doing any audit to establish that, you know, these funds were given out? I remember the other time there was a concern about you disbursing the funds to the banks, but people were not coming for those monies from the banks. What about that one as well? So
what we've been able to do, or the model that we actually adopted was very interesting, and I think it's a model that is sustainable. One, what we did was those who had smaller amounts of funds, the micro businesses, we channeled the funds through the mobile money systems. Now, what we did was to be able to ensure that the funds went to the people who had applied, because you have your name that you apply with, you have your ID, and you have the name on your mobile numbers. So there are 3 levels of checks, which allows us to realize that it is you, the human being. The other part is that the beauty of going through is that you settle through a platform, which is GIPS. GIPS does the settlement. And so you're able to track it and trace it and go there. So when you do an audit, you have a total audit trail right to the mobile phones of the beneficiaries that you have. Then you also have the financial institutions where individuals and their businesses are supposed to set up bank accounts. So those bank accounts, the trail leads to that account going to the person and the businesses. So as much as possible, we design that system to remove the face of government from it and put the face of various technology platforms and the participating financial institutions to make it more accessible, to push and improve the time of disbursements. And that's what we did with the platform.
It might be early days here, but we've been able to carry out any pre-audit, if I can use that word, to establish that indeed all these funds that went out, George Yafi and co. indeed had the funds, in business and all the rest. Have you been able to do that?
We have audited the process.
Wow.
And I think it's important for us to know that it was done. We do have systems in place. We do have the internal audits, we have external auditors, and we provide that support. I think that there's been an intensity in even trying to figure out how it happened and who gets the funds. And as I mentioned, GIPS is the settlement. And the names don't lie. I can't have 10 names. And you can't have 20 mobile phone numbers. And so the system was designed in such a way that you can't pay a person twice. right, within a system. It doesn't happen. And so those systems and those channels were put in place to ensure that they actually get to the beneficiaries. And so we have audited the process. And it was important for us to look at that process because we needed to understand the process so we could build on it in the future. And to be able to say that, yes, this is what we've achieved and these are the numbers. So all of that has been put in place to ensure that we don't, make mistakes in the future, so that if there are challenges, we really address them. But these are processes and there are channels that we've gone through to ensure that beneficiaries get the funds. That
I know that your support was generally into funding as well, but has there been any program right now to ensure that at least even 100,000 or 200,000 of these businesses that came for the funds, they are still in business and they are doing? Have you been able to establish that as well? We
have been able to establish that. We are actually undertaking an impact assessment with an external audit firm as well to actually go around the country to identify the businesses, the impact that it's made, and it's good news. Even Ghana Statistical Services also came for data to be able to identify some of the businesses to do their own survey, and they exist. They were actually quite surprised, I must say. I can't say what they mentioned to my team, but I know for a fact that it was like, wow, these people do exist and they have received the funding. Besides that, we've been able to also provide technical assistance support to some of them. So across the nation, about 15,000 now, have received or gone through the technical assistance programs that we've run across the nation to help build them, to help support them, besides providing them with funding so that they can be supported in a time like this.
I mean, working on this project, has it given you any different perspective about business in this country? There's talk about starting up a business, whether funding is the critical ingredient, or maybe it's not funding, it's the technical expertise, it's the support, it's the mentoring or mentorship that these startups out there need. What have you seen, your guys on the ground, that if today the trade minister says that, madam, I want some advice on, after working on this project for a year, in terms of assisting those startups out there, what should be the approach?
I think that we've learned a lot from this program. We've learned a lot from our past programs before we even came into this implementation. But one of the things that is constant is that it's not only access to finance.
Really? But that's the song solution. Everyone is singing.
Because it's easier to say I need access to finance. And yes, some people actually also do need access to finance to be able to support their business. But I always say there's more to it. There's the need for access to markets. Because if you have access to markets and you're selling your products, then you would have funding to inject into your business and might not need to go back to a bank or a financial institution. So there's the need for access to market channels. There's the need for, yes, access to finance is good, but what quality access to financing? What type of financing? So it comes from two. You're looking at it also from institutional aspects in terms of also the technical assistance. What kind of technical assistance are we providing to these businesses? Is it just anything? And through these programs, speaking to people that we've lent money to, you hear them come up to you and say, I'm actually amazed. I didn't know I needed to keep my financials for 5 years, even after the year was over. Through these programs, I'm learning it's important because once you have the data and information and you build your business and your financials, you can always go back for funding. But then there's also another side that comes from the entrepreneur or the business's side, which is discipline. So you need a lot of discipline to be able to build the businesses that we have, and a huge mindset shift, right? In terms of what it is that you're doing and how you approach the work that you're doing. So there really is a need for a mindset shift and expectations of the entrepreneurs as well, which comes from mentoring and coaching, which would help you, kind of support in the mindset shift as well as look at how we can also reality of the expectations that you seek.
And then do you think that there's a policy direction or tweaking can address this problem, or maybe it's moved beyond a policy direction and it should be dealt at the local level or something?
I think there's a need for both. I mean, there's already policy, and I think that we need to realize that last 4 years, one of the things that the government did, and through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, was really push the National MSME policy and entrepreneurship policy, right? And the policy really gives guidance in how we can provide the needed support. It looks at how we can provide it to a wider array of people, how we can build the businesses and strengthen them. And that is what gave birth to the Ghana Enterprises Agency. Now, this agency is supposed to assist, and that is what we've been doing. That gradually, slowly and surely, and it's all part of the YouStart program and the mindset shift in putting in place also the discipline and supporting people to build their businesses, providing them with the right type of resources so they can support and build their businesses.
You're talking about the YouStart program. We're getting more into it right now. I mean, for you first, what did you make of? I know there were some pre-engagement involved before the budget came out that when government decided that having managed these two programs, we want to add this YouStart to the agency to also spearhead it as well.
I think what government did, I think that the president made a major and policy statement, which was to create 1 million jobs. And I think that it's one of the best things that we could ever say. And he really was very bold about it. And for us at GEA, one of the things we've been saying in the past years that what can we do bolder? And in thinking of what we can do bolder, I think the president was bolder in coming out and saying that we need to create jobs for our youth. And one of the things that really drives us to do this is because we have one of the greatest assets in the world, which is our youth. And if you have your greatest asset being the youth, and you have to put them at the heart of everything you're doing, and that is in the budget, that is ensuring that as we put them at the heart of it, we create opportunities for them to do it. And our mandate really allows us to be able to do that. Ghana Enterprises Agency, there's also the NEIP and government through the major sponsors, which is the Ministry of Finance and also Ministry of Trade and Industry, to kind of drive this intervention for putting our greatest national asset, which is the youth, at the heart of the work we do. And our spearheading.
1 million jobs in 3 years. So my producers will roll the YouStart program to get a better understanding for our viewers in terms of those fine details. 1 million jobs in 3 years. Quite an ambitious one.
You have to be ambitious. Why not?
Is the system ready in terms of you and the other partners to create these jobs?
I think that the system has always been ready. I think government's vision has driven us to this point. And if you look at the president's vision and where he wants to lead the country to and what he expects and wants from the youth, it has been work in progress. And you can say that even the transformation of the Ghana Enterprises Agency is one of the drivers and the factors leading to supporting a stronger youth entrepreneurship ecosystem. So when you say that you also have other programs, there are various programs under the youth umbrella. You have the NEIP, you have YEA, you have all sorts of other programs. Because the focus on youth cannot be really underestimated. We need to put them at the center of what we intend to do. 1 million is ambitious, but we have to be ambitious. We need to actually be able to dream that it's possible and make it happen.
I asked this question because of the economy also has to support it. If the economy is not expanding, how do we create those jobs, even though you are pumping in this money, and also ensuring that they really touch the right spot?
So when you say the economy is not expanding, it's one of the questions that I'll say, from what angle, right? Because if you look at this, and I'll give you a few examples very soon. But if you look at the work we do, one of the questions he asked is, are we ready? Yes, we are. If you look at the setup of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, we have 190 district offices. We have 37 business resource centers. We are in every region in this nation. Now, why do I bring this up? Because this YouStart program is not going to focus on 2 regions or 2 districts. It's a nationwide program. It's a program that will cut across, the same as the CAP Business Support, where it cut across various regions and various districts. And to be able to implement a program like that, you need an engine and an institution that has the reach like we do to be able to get to the ground, to get the work done. Because the job is going to be on the ground in terms of mobilizing the youth, in terms of bringing them to the table, to even have conversations to tweak the programs that we have and build on the programs and the intervention that we want to do.
One of your main focus is to try and deal with unemployment in this country. I mean, I'm still trying to get the data myself in the current one, or not doing specific numbers, but does the agency have an appreciation of the unemployment situation in this country that you are first you're trying to deal with?
Yes, we do. I mean, I tell my team, which every day, and one of the things we always say is that what is the focus of the work we do? And the focus of the work we do is to create jobs, to create opportunities, is to create businesses and to sustain businesses. And all of that should translate or lead into job creation. And we do have a clear picture. It might not be perfect, but we know that in Ghana, there's close to 12% unemployment rate amongst the youth. And this is also data that you can find if you look at the World Bank data. There's a press release in terms of unlocking youth opportunities in Ghana, and it's highlighted in it. And we have 50% underemployment. So underemployment means they might be employed in something, there's some form of a hustle, but they are not employed within the certain number of work hours or various other things. So that is the challenge we are faced with in terms of having underemployment and also having unemployment. And so how do you build on this underemployment and help these youth build businesses, start their businesses, create employment, and grow to sustain the nation? And so when we say that, will they start businesses? We need the youth to drive the economy, right? We need them to be able to also facilitate and harness and create that opportunity for their friends, for their family, for other people, so that businesses are created. And that's what we seek to do.
You're doing two things. First, to create employment and also assist startups as well. I mean, there's this ideological argument about the fact that it's not everyone that can be an entrepreneur. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. That still a chunk of the graduates still has to be taken by private sector and government as well. And therefore, another critical question has been, how do we administer these funds to ensure that we are not giving it to people who unnecessarily just want to spend it, waste it, and then just go and sleep somewhere?
Yes. So I think that it's important to know, like, not everybody can be a doctor, right? So not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Anybody can do the work you're doing, right? I cannot do it.
I can do your work as well.
Okay, so that's life, right? I think that we need to accept the fact that in life, people are good at certain things and others are not, but there are people who help people do better at what they're doing. So we do establish that fact. But now those who are good at it, how do we support them? Because you talked about private sector creating jobs. Let's bear in mind that the youth creating jobs becomes private sector jobs. And they would need people to support them. They would need accountants, they would need cleaners, they would need finance people, they would need HR managers. So they create jobs. Yes, right? And all over the world, there's nowhere in the world where when you focus on entrepreneurship, you get 100% outcome. Even when you take 100 people to medical school, some will fail. Some will not come out as doctors. So let's look at entrepreneurship through the lens of how we look at everything and every career path. That some will succeed, some will fail. But that does not mean we shouldn't invest in doctors, right? That doesn't mean we shouldn't invest in future entrepreneurs. They might fail, they might not. But as much as possible, we have to be very systemic and thoughtful about how we intervene and provide that support.
Let's focus on the unemployment, because that's one of the issues that are quite debatable outside. A lot of people are talking about it. So who can get access to this fund in terms of the job creation bit and not the kicking the startups? George Affi says, I'm unemployed. Can I walk to your office and then say that, give me 100,000 Ghana cedis and let me start work? And I know that my producers have been able to build some data as well as on who can benefit from, they can roll on what you tried to explain to us, that who can get access to this YouStart program if indeed George Affi classifies himself as unemployed.
So George Affi, you've always had the opportunity to visit our business advisory centers, right? Because that's what they were set up for. But now what government is saying is that let's really enhance it and place stronger focus on the youth, which means you can walk into our offices, our business advisory centers, and say...
And these are across all the districts in the country?
They are across 190 districts. We've also doing a drive to move it to all the districts as well, so that we become more accessible. But because we're not in all, that's why we use technology, so that those who are not within can also apply or use our system.
So online as well as available possible for people to apply.
Exactly. So if there are programs, we advertise it, we put it out, we have community sensitizations, we make sure that people hear about the programs from the district level, not only at the national level, so they can walk into our offices and say, we're interested in these programs, can we apply for it? Or you can go online once we open the portals for them, and then you can apply for it. Or you can walk, as I mentioned, you can walk in. Once you apply for it, would go through a process and a screening, you'd go through training as well, and then you can be able to.
There's always the fear that programs like these government-sponsored programs are tailored for certain people or persons in society. And that is where I'm very particular about how is the screening process going to be done to ensure that it goes, or we identify the real burdened guys out there, and ladies as well, who really need these funds to start their business.
So I think that there are processes. And if you look at the YouStart programs, there are different categories. So you're looking at the category of those who have who have completed vocational or technical schools, right, and need to find, want to do something. There are those who've also left tertiary education. There are those who have left, maybe the secondary education and need support. The reason why we've classified it in these segments is so that it allows various people to be able to access the programs. We're also targeting youth who already have MSME startups that need support, that need to build the businesses to grow those businesses. So there are different categorization, because if you don't categorize it, you tend to leave out a segment who would also need to benefit from it. So if you go to a district, if there are people who have left secondary schools and need access to jobs or access to start a business, they can go through it. If they've left university levels or in universities, there are programs that they would work with and build on those programs to support it. There are those who've gone to technical and vocational schools. And I say they're one of the most empowered categories of people, because they have skills that they've already they have skills that they can actually turn into some form of entrepreneurship opportunities for themselves. And so as much as possible, this is done so that people are not left out. The other part of it is that it's also done or designed in such a way that you're not stuck within a particular region or district. That's why it's a nationwide, and that's why we use our existing business advisory centers to get to the core of the people on the ground, so that within every district, there's an opportunity for people to apply. And we've done this before. This is not the first time. I mean, under the CAP business support, that's what we did. We built a model based on statistics of economic engagements within various regions and districts. Based on those statistics, we're able to then design a program which said, okay, this is the percentage that goes to this region, goes to this district, goes to this sector, and then that's how we're going to build a program. And that's what we intend to take that model, modify it, and make it focus on the youth to grow the program.
And this model is system-proof to ensure that it will go to those who really need these funds, and not certain people who don't need it, and rewarding them as well.
So that's an interesting question that you bring up, because if you look at the CAP bus program, I don't know if anybody has come to you to say, I don't need it.
Well, not that they don't need it, but the problem is that, because a certain Kwame Mensah was connected to this person, is affiliated to this other party and that is why they got their system.
It's very interesting, because I got this question once and people said, what are the regions that really you put the CAP bus went into? And I'll give you the top 5.
Yeah.
Ashanti, Greater Accra, Northern, Volta region, and the Eastern region.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So if you look at that, and you're not going to say that there's a particular way of looking at it. And I'll give you another example. Last 2 weeks, what we did was that we had a program to bring the entrepreneurs to an area to help them on one of our projects that we're working on. And we brought them together, one for transparency, because we wanted them to see that they were existing businesses. And after the program, I remember very well, there was this woman who walked up to me. And when she walked up to me, she said, I need to talk to you. And she burst out. She started crying.
Wow.
And she wasn't the first person. And I asked, what's the problem? She said, I didn't know anybody. And people keep saying you have to know somebody.
Whom you know.
And that's what's going to get you the funds. But I did not know somebody. And I did this. And she went on to say, she said something very powerful. She said, I love my country. And this program has actually made me realize that I need to love it more because there's the opportunity to do great things. And I was very touched by that. I don't know if I can say or I've ever said I love my country, but the way she said it, because of the program and an intervention, and she's not the first person. What we realize is that people tend to shy away from programs thinking that you need to know somebody. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, when they realize their friends who didn't know somebody applied and got it, then there's a panic of, oh, I didn't get it. Oh, I didn't know this existed. So I always tell people, apply for it. Go through the motion and the process because the system actually works.
Let me get clarity. So, for instance, so how do I get? I should just go to your online, your website and apply, and also walk to your business incubator centers out there and apply as well. And then what next?
So so when the program comes live, right, we will announce.
Do we have any fair idea the period, not the day? I mean, the period that we are hoping that all other things being equal, it will be rolled out, not the date, but the period.
So next year, I think that as they're going through the motions of the budget, because the budget is the focus of the budget. Okay. So once the budget goes through the whole processes, that is when, after that process, we start. But the legwork is going on in terms of putting in place the structures, the implementation plans, the sensitizations, all of that happens. And so once it happens, we always announce it. We always do the engagements, and people can then go onto the platforms or into the offices to apply for the various.
The economists will say all other things being equal, we are hoping that next year, January, February, it will take off. Then so the platform will be open.
Yes, all other things being equal, I think that in the budget it said March.
March next year.
Yes, that's what it said in the budget.
So then March, then the portals will be open for people to apply.
All other things being equal, as you said, in March, as the budget stated, based on what the outcome of the budget, it would happen. And I think we were quite clear. I don't think we've ever disappointed because under the CAP business support, when we said the intervention would start, it started at that time. And I think that the Ghana Enterprises Agency has done a very good job at being able to stick to our word and being able to deliver on time and deliver to the people. Because if it's a government's intervention and if it's the president's decision as to what we have to do to support Ghanaians and support the youth. And I think it's also important to note that when I talk about the youth being our greatest asset and the urgency of building and supporting them, there's never been a better time than now. So it will happen.
You're talking about working on structures and all that. One critical thing I wanted to ask was that, so as we speak right now, you are working on those structures that all other things being equal, when it takes off March, we are not now going to do this and that. Everything has been worked on during this period, and it can really take off in terms of infrastructure, support, funding, and all those things.
I think it's important to note, and I'll take you back. I want this conversation to be around the fact that Ghana Enterprises Agency has never disappointed. And so when you ask that question, I say to myself, I've never disappointed you, right? And I think that with God on our side and with the institution really bent on doing the right thing, it will happen. Yes, in life there might be certain obstructions, but all other things being equal. And you should also note that, as I mentioned, things have been in work in progress. There are various institutions that would be involved. There are various ministries that are also working to get it done, and it will get done.
Let's come to the funding bit as well in terms of supporting those entrepreneurs. And so how much am I entitled to if I'm able to pass that screening process as a startup? How much do I get and all the rest, be it a vocational bed, be it in IT and all those things as well?
I can't give you a set number because I don't know your needs. But I think that if you read the budget, it was quite clear and also
in terms of the details. And our producers will get us something on set as well in terms of the amount that we are entitled to and those we can get. As you try to explain to us here.
So I think that there's a conversation. If you read the budget, it looks at it from coming from, I guess, from ranging from 1,000 all the way to 400,000 Ghana cedis. I'm giving that ball bracket from the lower side just to give it low sense. But there are various institutions that would, the PFIs would work on it or up to the 400,000 Ghana cedis. if I remember correctly. And that's how it's expected to run out. So it depends on the need, the type of business, what you intend to do with the funds. Is it to buy equipment, to buy raw materials? Is it for technical support? All the various needs that you have. Is it for operational costs? That will determine the amount.
Soft loan of up to 50,000 Ghana cedis. Is that enough for a startup?
It depends on what you're doing. I think that we have to realize that every business has a different need. Maybe I need 2,000 cedis. So is that enough? What is enough and what is not enough?
2,000 today might not be enough.
Well, it depends on your business. It depends on what you're doing. I think one of the things we need to realize is that we shouldn't let our expectation of what we want be other people's expectations. How we need to look at this process is that we need to understand the location where people are, right? Where they want to go. You need to understand the sector they want to play in. You need to understand what their needs are. So there's so many things that go into it. So if I say 2,000, I'm giving you a range. I didn't say that's what exactly it is. But all I'm trying to say is 50,000 might not be enough for you because you want to sell or you want to produce, set up a huge factory to produce starch. So it might not be enough for you, right? But it might be enough for someone who wants to maybe has a shoe factory. I'm not saying those are the numbers for the sector.
Yeah, just playing
so
with
all I'm trying to say is everything has different needs or different amounts. So we can't interrogate the numbers based on is it enough or not enough. We need to interrogate the numbers based on what is it that people are going to do. And I think that's the beauty of this project. It allows people to have ideas or dreams of whatever they want to do, and for us to take those ideas and make it come to life and help them and work with them to grow the businesses. Bear in mind, it's also startup funding. So startup funding doesn't mean let's throw in $1 million or $1 billion just because we have to support it. But put in the money that stabilizes it, the money that gets it off the ground, and then as we go along, what this would actually do is that it would propel other financial institutions to actually have a pipeline of businesses to support. So now they can grow the businesses, there's the Venture Capital Trust Fund, there's the Development Bank that is coming up that could also support some of the SMEs in terms of supporting them to grow. So let's look at this as the starting point for startups, but also using that as a pipeline to create avenue for even the financial sector to become strong.
You talked about how your system is quite robust and been able to do with the previous programs and all the rest. What is the current system in place to do that assessment to ensure that maybe even Mami Adjo's maybe pure water business doesn't need maybe 2,000, she needs 1,000 Ghana cedis. Then Kojo Mensah's business needs about 200,000 Ghana cedis. How's the system structured to ensure that the right level of funding goes to individual A, individual B?
So I think that you are able to do the assessment once again based on the need of the business. So if I say I'm starting a business and I want to buy a delivery van, okay, and I come to you and I say I need 2,000 cedis to buy a delivery van. Of course, that is not a need. That is not going to work, right?
A home use one, maybe?
Yes, 2,000 cedis.
Maybe a home use?
No, I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
But that's what you're doing. Or I need to buy an equipment to do a filler, to fill maybe a spice packaging machine, something of that sort. And you come and you say, I need 1,000 Ghana cedis. You know, there's that engagement. And that's one of the use of our business advisory centers and business resource centers to provide the advice and to guide them. So we actually utilize the resources. We utilize external business development service providers to advise the businesses and advise us in some of the directions. And also in the cases where the banks are doing the assessment, the banks also provide advice to the businesses and also make sure that they're using the funds for the right needs. So the decisions are made based on assessments. Yes, we have a system, and the system relies on also utilizing existing systems in other institutions or within our own system.
I'm getting to understand that you're going to spread your net as wide as possible. How wide are you going to spread your nets in terms of covering, in terms of even sectoral distribution as well, so that some are saying that we are increasingly becoming a service-led economy, so that it cuts across industry, agri, services, and even across the whole country as well?
So I think that we've established the fact that it's a nationwide program. And it will be a nationwide program. We've done it in the past, as I mentioned, because your past is always an example of what you can do in the future. We've been able to do it in the past. We have the resources and the setup based on our existing establishment of the Ghana Enterprises Agency and our network to be able to deliver on that and to be able to support it. We know the sectors, there will be needs assessments that would be done. So we'll be able to have a fair idea as to which sectors that are coming up, what the sectors or the needs of the people are, and for them to also solve challenges or problems within the various.
I'll be coming back to you to get the understanding about how excited are you about this program being the game changer, because we've had several programs targeting unemployment and assisting startups, and how different this one will be. This is PM Express Business Edition as you look at unemployment situation in Ghana and the YouStart program that government is implementing. All other things being equal, next year, how would this be structured and how be implemented to address this challenge? Take a short break, we'll be right back. PM Express Business Edition as we talk about unemployment situation in Ghana and then the YouStart program that government is set to roll out. Would this be the final program or the program to help deal with the situation of unemployment in Ghana? Or maybe it will be another challenge for us? Madam Yankee Aye, she is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprise Agency and is joining us here to get some understanding. And we're wrapping up on the bit about how the funding will be well targeted and widespread, and you're explaining something to me about what you've done previously, and that would also guide you in ensuring that we'll target every part of the country. Those who need funding, they'll be assisted.
Yes. And we've done it before. I keep saying that we've done it before. And a lot of the work we do is driven by data. And so when you look at data, and if you look at what Ghana Statistical Services provides, you'd be able to know where the youth concentrations are, you'd be able to know where the population booms are happening, and you can use those numbers to even estimate how you're going to design the intervention. That's how you roll out. So the rollout is based on a science, and that science is based on data.
I mean, how different would this program? We've had several government initiatives and interventions to deal with unemployment and assisting startups. I mean, how different would this one be that we are going to get it right?
I think that we are going to get it right. I think that we should not disregard the past interventions that have been provided. The past interventions in life, you learn from things.
Yeah, but they've not gotten the results, and that's why there are skeptics still out there about this program.
Oh, yes. Maybe there are people would always be skeptical. Even if you provide them with numbers, they'll say, no, show me the people. Even if you show me the people, they'll say, no, show. So there'll always be skeptics. But what we need to look at really is that in the design of the intervention and the implementation of the intervention, how do we ensure that we're being transparent? How are we communicating what we're about to do to show the people the work? And we need to carry Ghanaians along. So we will carry you along in the process. We're going to show the Ghanaian people what is happening. Because if you're able to see it, it brings transparency. It allows them to know that the work is being done. Yes, a lot of things have happened in the past, but we're building and learning on that. And you also need to realize that there are a lot of different interventions that have also being successful. So how did we know that it's important to provide access to finance or support to businesses? We've had the CAP business support intervention. It was very successful, I must say.
That's why the people complain that they applied and they never got the money.
Because you can't satisfy the whole country. I'm sorry to say that. I wish I could. And I really was hoping, and because of that, we actually went around seeking other funding from other institutions so we could build a larger pot. And we did find some. But unfortunately, we didn't find to support everybody. We had 900,000 people apply. But as much as possible, we tried our best. And I kept telling the team that, we need to feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread, 3 fish. And that's what we tried to do, right? And we did our best. and we still continue to do our best. And that's why the interventions did not end there. And as we go along, government is really bringing on board new interventions, new things, so that we satisfy more people. So yes, as much as possible, there are opportunities for us to do more for many people, and that's what the YouStart will do. If you look at our interventions at Ghana Enterprises Agency, even in the past when we had over 100th of what is being promised us, we're able to create approximately 21,000 jobs and even sustain over 40,000 jobs and create the 21,000 businesses, if I may say.
From the Kabas program?
Not even counting the Kabas program.
Yeah.
These are interventions we're working on with various partners, working with government, working with the MasterCard Foundation, as well as other partners to support. We work with GIZ and SNV. And all these interventions, as I mentioned, with 100th of what we have, we've been able to make massive changes, and we've been able to bring on board so many other people to build their businesses and help them grow their businesses. So we believe that if we have the funding and we have the right tools, we'll be able to do so much more. Yes, you mentioned it is massive, but it's a bold intervention, and we're proud of it because we need to do bolder things.
Judging from what you're able to do with the first program, do you think that if the required funding is in place and the required support as well, even the 1 million jobs over 3 years is being moderate and you can create more than that?
I think it depends on the reception of the people. So there's only so much we can do from our side. And I think that's why we spoke about the mindset interventions as well as the discipline of the interventions, because government can only do so much, but the youth also have to support us. So we can do so much more if we get everybody to come in and buy in and work with us. It's not only government's effort. This intervention of YouStart is not only government's effort to get it done. And I think that one of the main things that we're looking at is how do we bring on board faith-based organizations? How do we bring on board the various tertiary institutions and programs? How do we all come together? How do we bring private sector? How do we bring organizations, the NGOs, the civil society? All of us, this is actually a civil and a national service. And everybody needs to be involved. And if everybody gets involved and is committed to it, we can actually get the 1 million jobs.
Indeed, 1 million jobs is the target, maybe being moderate or be getting more. This is PM Express Business Edition, engaging the Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, talking about unemployment and the YouStart program. My name is George Afe. Have a great day.